me underscore something that is visible to us today. As those who are called to the ministry of healing, to a prophetic witness, to a ministry of unity, we're proud to stand in solidarity with our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. And so we want it to be known to the press that we are the agents of unity. We're not the agents of division. That we are seeking to create understanding, not to promote misunderstanding. And we're seeking healing and not more pain and distance between us. We want to invite a representative, Reverend Dr. Carlton Eversley, I believe, from the Winston-Salem Ministers Alliance, who's come over to stand in solidarity with this initiative today.
Dr. Gaylord S. Wilmore, in his classic piece, Black Religion and Black Radicalism, said there was oftentimes in the 20th century a certain seamlessness between the black church and the NAACP, to wit, the black church was the NAACP on its knees. And so our statement, which was unanimously passed, starts out by saying the Ministers' Conference of Winston-Salem and Vicinity joins the North Carolina Conference of the NAACP in encouraging people to vote against Amendment 1 on May 8th. We are fully persuaded by our state president, Dr. William Barr, that this amendment is not in the best interest of individuals, families, people of color, workers, and progressives throughout this state. First, we note that the persons and groups funding this amendment have been funding anti-voting rights, anti-health care, anti-public education, anti-historically black college funding, anti-racial justice act initiatives in the State House and Senate. Second, the so-called same-sex marriage amendment is really not about same-sex marriage. Rather, it's a cynical and divisive attempt to fuel a reactionary voting base to support this anti-agenda that we've just cited. Third, and perhaps most importantly, a state constitution should never be amended to take away rights from minorities. Instead, a constitution should be about expanding human rights. This has been crucial to the lived experience of black people in this country. In our original federal constitution, we had an expansion of the transatlantic slave trade for 20 years. We had fugitive slave provision. We had 3/5 clause for representation. It was only after the Civil War we get the 13th Amendment to end enslavement, the 14th Amendment to grant citizenship, and the 15th Amendment to give black men the right to vote, with the women of all races being given that right in 1920. So the Constitution should always be about expansion, never restriction of human rights.
That's right.
The human rights of any minority should never be subject to the whim of the popular vote of a majority. If this were the case, then the aforementioned amendments, the 1967 Supreme Court decision in Love versus Virginia, legalizing interracial marriage, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the 1968 Fair Housing Act may never have been enacted.
That's right.
Like the state NAA, we take no position on same-sex marriage itself. It's a matter of personal, pastoral, congregational, judicatory, and denominational conscience. People on goodwill on both sides can and do differ. Sound, biblical, and theological arguments can be made on both sides. Folks can and do oppose same-sex marriage, and at the same time oppose Amendment 1. We are united in determination to see that the human rights of any minority should not be trampled over in this flagrant attempt to write discrimination into the state constitution.